Hey everybody, it's Gage and it's Bowtie Tuesday with another OWA Live. We're talking a little bit about inflation today. Maybe some of you have noticed on Yahoo Finance or CNBC or Fox Business, they're talking a lot about inflation. So what is it and what does that all mean? Well, ultimately, the thing to focus on is what's called the Consumer Price Index. CPI is kind of like the barometer for where inflation is. And the first thing that I kind of want to point out is inflation isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'm going to leave in the comment section below a link to where you can see what the CPI is on any given day, any given month. There are tracking metrics to determine where that is. But ultimately, what we're looking for is we want to see some level of inflation. The Federal Reserve has said that their target is about 2% a year. So that's kind of the ideal situation for them. The concern is if we start to see inflation higher than 2% a year, what effects does that have on purchasing power? What effects does that have on the value of the dollar? Things like that. We don't want it to be too high. We also, believe it or not, don't want it to be too low. And especially in the last decade, we've seen periods of deflation where actually it's better for us to hold our money in the bank because it can buy more goods and services later. That's not necessarily a good thing. Our economy works on spending, and we need to make sure that there's money continually going through the system. So what we're going to look at here are signs of inflation, the early warning signs of inflation. We're also going to link a Morningstar article in the description below where it talks about some specifics, but we're going to talk about three pieces today. So piece number one, the first thing that we want to consider is gold and silver. We want to look at the price of precious metals. Specifically gold and silver, those are usually the most widely accepted, widely used positions that people would use to take a look at inflation, see what it is. The main key with gold and silver, we want to see how it does over a long period of time. So if we look at the last 2 years of history for gold and silver, these positions, gold is up like, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15%. Silver is up like 40%. A lot of that was due to the coronavirus, the pandemic that happened. We saw a spike in precious metals, specifically silver. So that could be an indicator that we have inflation coming up. Again, that's not doom and gloom necessarily, but we need to keep it in check. And if we start to see some significant inflation where we're considerably more than 2%, that could be a pretty significant concern. Number two, the second thing we want to look at are what are called commodities. We're looking for, specifically, we want to look at lumber, which I don't think that's a surprise. Everyone knows that lumber is out of control right now. We want to look at copper. What's interesting is there are huge groups out there that consider copper the barometer of inflation. So that is like the number one thing. Both of these are up right now. Copper is up pretty high. We could also look at commodities like oil. We're starting to see oil increase, specifically like gas prices starting to go up pretty dramatically. We can look at homes as commodities, and we all know that homes are outrageously expensive right now. It doesn't matter where you live, you're getting over asking, and your house is closing in a matter of days instead of a matter of weeks. So commodities are definitely up. We should expect inflation there. These guys up, we should expect inflation there. There are a couple of other factors that we want to look at, but the last one we're going to consider here today is labor. Now, some economists consider labor a commodity. They think that the work that people do could be considered a commodity. But in this case, we're going to look at it a little bit separately because I think it's being treated a little bit differently. If labor prices start to go up, then that is a very significant inflation indicator, something that we definitely want to pay attention to. Right now, have you noticed when you go out to the grocery store, there are fewer checkout lines, or maybe you go to the restaurant, there are fewer servers. There is a significant labor shortage, and people point the finger every which direction. They say unemployment benefits are too high or employers aren't paying enough. But the main key here is that labor is costing more. We were just here in Rio Rancho, we noticed there was a smoothie place that was advertising they're paying their employees up to $22 an hour. And all of us thought, oh man, we're quitting our jobs with Oxford Wealth. We're going to go make smoothies. Labor is starting to go up, and we're starting to see that reflect through minimum wages and through higher wages being offered through those employers. So these three indicators are suggesting that inflation might be on the rise. Right now, Indicators are suggesting somewhere between 4.2 and 4.8% inflation for 2021. Now, that's not, again, that shouldn't be too much of a concern. That means the cost of goods and services are going to go up. We just need to make sure that we're protected from those positions. We need to make sure that we're protected from increasing prices. So make sure that you reach out to either your financial advisor, if you're working with us, reach out to us to make sure that we've got proper inflation protection built into your portfolio. I was meeting with a client today who was a little bit concerned about this. We took a look at some of the positions that he was in and found we were already doing quite a bit to make sure that we were protected from increasing inflation. So that's an important piece of the equation. Make sure that you've got good inflation protection in place. If you have questions about this, reach out to us. Give our office a call, 505-891-9800 or 512-827-3400. We look forward to hearing from you and hope you have a great afternoon. Take care, and we'll see you soon.